Welcome to Messy Christian Mamas. We are three Christian moms with a progressive mindset and loving hearts and minds. We are imperfect humans, but we're all loved in God's sight. At some point, we've all felt like the church and Christianity may not have been for us, but God isn't looking for perfection. He's just looking for you.
We are not experts in Christian theology, and we do not represent any particular Christian faith or church. We are simply here to be authentic, and we hope you join us on this journey.
Welcome back to Messy Christian Mamas. We're glad that you joined us this week. This is Kendra.
This is Ashleigh.
This is Kaylee.
And we have a really fun topic this week. It is the Lamentations of a middle-aged mother. But first, before we get into it, I wanted to introduce our very, very special guest, and not just friend of the podcast, but family of one of our hosts, Kara Bryant. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And who do you think she's family of?
Who do you belong to? Like, we tell the girls. Who do you belong to?
I belong to Ashleigh.
Yay!
I am Ashleigh's older sister.
Yeah.
So, quick sidebar. At my high school reunion that was last month, we all had name tags, and Chris graduated the same year that I graduated, and everyone was like, "Did you graduate with us?" And finally, I just took his name tag and write, "I belong to Kara." So somebody would stop asking, like, "I don't remember you."
You should have totally leaned into that and been like,
Oh my gosh, don't you
Hard,
remember?
she don't remember me.
I was the student body president.
we were besties. We dated. What do you mean you don't remember me? My 20 years next month. That's giving me ideas.
Yay.
If anyone comes up to me and says they don't remember, I'll be like, what are you talking about?
A Romeo and Michelle moment.
I just don't. I truly don't understand, and we'll have to dig into this, but I don't understand people who can go to their high school reunions. I had such a...
I've been to all three of
my
mine.
gosh, I love high school.
Yeah, I hated it. I did not like it while I was there.
Okay.
Oh, I had a good time.
I remember having just I was always what I would consider a fringe friend, so I didn't have like a group. I wasn't an athlete. I wasn't in band. I clearly cannot sing. My sister had all that talent. So I was just kind of like, everyone liked me and everyone knew me, but I was just kind of like on the fringes. It's like if they remembered, oh, let's invite Kara to do something. So a lot of times I worked two jobs because I had nothing else to do. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it wasn't like bad experience as far as like being bullied or picked on. I just didn't have a lot of close friends that I would like. I just didn't feel connected in a lot of ways.
I think that's why I enjoyed high school.
That's why...
I was a fringe friend as well, but I had been going to school with these people since second grade, so we all knew each other, and like a lot of us didn't fit into those, like, I guess categorically, like teenage cliques, like high school cliques and stuff. So, but I just had a great time because I just thought it was fun, and I was
friends with everyone.
I was a super big nerd too, though. I thoroughly loved.
You leaned into it. I was the same way.
Yeah, I was a really big nerd. I also did stuff my senior year that followed me to college that made life a lot quicker.
I leaned into my nerd. Yeah, I leaned into my nerdiness. I was like a band nerd, a chorus nerd, drama nerd.
I didn't have anything to nerd out on. I became a nerd later. I became a nerd in college, and then after college, when I'm such a geek. I'm teaching reading and social studies right now, but for years and years and years, I taught math and science.
Oh, wow.
And I love teaching math and science, and I am struggling with reading and social studies. But I will nerd out over prime numbers any day of the week. I mean, it is ridiculous.
Just took you a minute to lean into it.
It took me a while. And I was like, I love prime numbers. So it's ridiculous.
Shelley, friend of our podcast, it was a math teacher as well. We should have introduced.
Awesome. Well, I think I met her.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, she was the class we were at.
Anyway. So,
on topic.
Kara, I know.
Story of the podcast.
Yeah.
I'll just text Sam right now and say, get a ride home from football. I'm going to be a minute.
So, Kara, can you tell us a little bit about your faith journey?
Yeah, so I grew up in this church, actually.
That's funny.
As I walked in today, it was really weird because I was telling Kendra, I haven't been here since high school. It's been a really long time, so it's changed quite a bit. And then when I left for college, I didn't really go to church much during college. I graduated from college and moved back to Atlanta. But so I felt like drawn to go to church one Sunday, and there's a little teeny church down the street from the house I was renting. And I showed up, and I stayed for 11 years.
Oh.
And I would pass it every day on the way to work. And I was like, I should go there some Sunday. And so I think I was like 23, and I went there for 11 years. It was a, quote, non-denominational church run by Noonday Baptist Association. So I never actually joined the church there because I didn't agree with their membership tenets. Okay. But I really liked the people.
Yeah.
When the pastor that was there moved to Pennsylvania and they had a Woodstock City takeover, Woodstock, whatever the big churches in Woodstock is, I was like, nah, I'm kind of done. And so I kind of floated around for a little bit. And then I actually went to a funeral of Mr. Bill, who is my 96-year-old friend, and loved Mr. Bill. Love him. Sweetest man in the world. And while I was at the funeral, a lady from the church, that little tiny church, was there, and she said, listen, I'm going to this church in Woodstock. I think you would love it. It's a Methodist church. I never thought I'd be a Methodist, but our preacher's so cool, he wears Vans. That's the definition of cool. Wear Vans. So I went one Sunday, and I had a raging migraine. So I don't remember, but I promised her I'd be there, and I don't remember one thing about what happened or what was said. I was just trying not to throw up in the sanctuary.
Oh, no.
And then I went back 2 weeks later, and I stayed there, and I just loved it. And so then it was like, after growing up Lutheran, attending a Baptist church for 11 years, not really feeling like it all fit. When I got to the Methodist church, that's when I was like, oh, this fits. This is my brand of theology. Like, this is where this is what I understand. This is it fits my life. It fits who I am. And so then I stayed there, and long story short, went through a divorce, ended up marrying the pastor of that church.
Awesome.
Who wore the Vans?
Who wore the Vans.
It was the Vans I got you.
Still wears Vans.
What's the definition of cool?
So, and then he was actually in Ringgold at Ringgold United Methodist for 6 years, and so we long distanced for 3. And then
wow,
yeah, it was
rough.
a
long time.
But I had kids, and he had kids, and we wanted to make sure it was really solid before we uprooted my family and my kids and moved us up to Ringgold.
That's smart.
And then we're like, we got to make sure this is going to work. And now we've moved. Now he's down here, so we've moved back. And so that's kind of the faith journey. It's always been a part of my life. At some points, it's been stronger than others. I've grown a lot more, I'd say, in the last 10 years in my faith than I ever. Like, I look back on it now, I'm like, man, I was such a baby Christian. In my, even going through, like, especially confirmation when you're in high school, right? You're really just here to hang out with your friends, but right. Yeah. And then you go into my 20s, and then even that first part when I was out, like, leaving the Baptist church and going to the Methodist church, I was just a baby. I didn't understand. And then the more through study and getting into a leadership role and leading small groups and being married to a pastor, you have to grow. And so.
Well, yeah, I'm so curious about what happens to your faith when you're married to a pastor.
Well, what's really funny is
it's going to be a wild experience.
It is
because you see all the drama
for your faith. Yeah,
you see all the drama, but
worried about Brad.
I'm going to seminary next year.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Chris can help you if you have questions. The biggest thing that was weird to me is as soon as I married a pastor, everyone thought I was an expert in theology.
Sure.
And I'm like,
that wedding ring gave you like superpowers.
I'm like, yeah,
definitely imagining Brad now being like,
I don't know. Like,
don't ask him.
I know. Like, Brad the extreme introvert.
Really weird idea.
So, like,
focus.
One of my friends, I had like a Catholic saint medallion on her necklace, and she's like, "Do you know who this saint is? I'll ask Kara. Kara will know." And I was like, I don't know. I've never been to a Catholic church.
Professor Google.
No idea. So, but yeah, people ask me questions. I'm like, I am not a Bible expert. I'm just married to one. So I will ask him when I get home, and I will text you and let you know. So, but I do get a lot of, questions answered because I trust his background and his education and his experience. He's been a pastor for 28 years.
It's a long time.
It's a really long time. He's had a lot of experiences in a lot of different churches. And so if I say, hey, tell me more about this story or this situation, or tell me more of the background leading up to this particular passage, I get a really good honest answer. That's not only grounded in theology, but also grounded in history and his education. Mm-hmm. So that's helped out a lot.
I love that.
He has made me pray out loud too, which I'm still not thrilled about. But like if he cooks, he's like, I cooked, you pray. I'm like, oh,
I love it. I should try that at home.
Brett's instantly regretting this podcast.
I can't imagine what my kids would say. If I asked them to pray.
I know. Well, I
should.
try with my daughter sometimes.
I want to know what JJ and Sophia come.
Actually, they might surprise me.
You should.
Like Addison would have like this really sweet, like simple prayer to like try to get things
Sophia
done.
will have the most eloquent, beautiful,
exactly. That's what I want to know.
Prayer, yeah.
And JJ's like glaring at her across the macaroni and cheese, being like, "Can we please finish?"
His explanation of the Lord's Prayer was hilarious.
Oh my god!
Oh my goodness.
So great.
She tried to have her kids put it into their own words. Lord's Prayer. What does this mean? And it was pretty amusing.
She's like, why are you asking this? I don't care.
What's this on the ground? Why
is it poisonous?
Is this poisonous?
Shiny thing poisonous?
That's
right.
Well,
Anyway.
I've tried that with Sam. Sam's the only one who lives with us full time now. We have 5 boys all together.
That's a lot of boys.
That's a lot of testosterone. Even the dog is a boy. Like it is me. I am the queen. I am the sole female.
Sure.
We're like, hey Sam, I cooked. You prayed. He says no. I just won't do it.
Sam's also pretty introverted.
Sam is introverted in ways, but you get him around his football friends, and he's
people.
just like those are his people.
That's good.
So that's a little bit about my faith journey.
Okay. So Kara is actually interested in starting a podcast titled what our topic is about today, Lamentations of a Middle-Aged Mother. And we decided to dig into this idea with her on this episode today. But it's probably going to be a 2-parter, so stick around with us for this week and next week's episode. But before we get too far down that road, let's break down the concept of lamentation biblically. Talk a little bit about what that means. So let's see, ladies. What do you think?
Yep. Don't look at me.
Yep. Oh.
What do you think a lamentation is?
It's like a crying out. It's like a crying out in uncomfortableness.
That's a much nicer thing than I thought. It was like whining.
It can be
being
taken
a whiny
as whining.
baby.
So the first rule in my classroom is no whining. I have 5 rules. No whining, no crying, no bleeding, no dying, and don't be a jerk on purpose.
Yep. Those are good rules for life.
Those are good rules for life.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's it. You know, so if you come to me whining, I'm like, what are you doing? You're breaking rule number 1. Stop. Shh. So
Joe would not do well.
Joe would not do well in my class. He's such a whiner.
Jeremiah. Whew.
I know. So, and if you read Lamentations, I think it's a little bit more than whining. Like they're crying out in agony. So for me, obviously in today's terms, being a middle-aged mother is not well, there are some parts that are agony, but most of it's just like, this is so hard.
Yeah.
And I cannot believe I'm having to go through those kind of things. So that's
Absolutely.
what Lamentations mean to me.
So Merriam-Webster says it is an expression of sorrow, mourning, or regret, very similar to what you had said, Ashleigh. Easton's Bible Dictionary says an elegy or dirge. The first example of this form of poetry is the lament of David over Saul and Jonathan. It was a frequent accompaniment of mourning, and prophecy sometimes took the form of a lament when it predicted calamity. So a lot of this is about like ending or death.
So is technically like a lamentation like a sorrowful song? Like is it a type of writing?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you look at the book of Lamentations,
I haven't read it. So
it's a poem.
Oh, okay. I have no idea.
It's a very dark.
I knew it was like, I knew it had something to do, like, sadness and darkness, because nobody has ever talked about Lamentations with a smile on their face.
Well,
so
Urban Dictionary says.
there's where my dictionary. This is where my definition.
Is there like a shortened version of
Urban
like
Dictionary
Riz,
says, in quotes,
They had no risk.
a person named Zhao, Xiao, created this dictionary entry, so I'll just give you that context first. Urban Dictionary says, a word Zhao says because he's emo, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit lighter.
A little.
Fair, but maybe a little bit on the lighter side. So we see a lot of Lamentations in the Bible. There's even an entire book dedicated to it, as Kara was talking about. The Bible Project says that the Book of Lamentations contains 5 poems from an anonymous author, generally attributed to Jeremiah, who survived and is reflecting back on Babylon's siege of Jerusalem and the destruction and exile that followed. But there are more lament poems throughout the Bible, many of them in the book of Psalms and other books across the Bible as well. The poems in the book of Lamentations do 3 things. First, they're a form of protest. Second, they are a way to process emotion. And third, they are a place to voice confusion. And the Bible Project also says that this very important book shows us that lament, prayer, and grief are a crucial part of the journey of faith. And that's something we talked a lot about in our episode, Angry at God. Mm-hmm. You know, when you have all these big emotions, it's okay to yell at God and lament and tell him how angry you are.
Good art does that, and I think that's what good art is anyway. It's a protest. It's a way to process emotion, and
absolutely.
So it totally makes sense that it would be poetry that would be doing
right.
that.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I have a little bit more with that one.
Please.
It's kind of the same thing, but it's like as a memorial to the Israelites' pain and confusion following the destruction of Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. Lamentations shows how prayerful lament, not whiny lament.
Yeah.
Right?
Is
a crucial part of our journey of faith in a broken world. Mm-hmm. So I like that in a broken world part because as we get more into the Lamentations of the middle-aged mom, a lot of motherhood feels broken at times. Yeah. And you're like, oh my gosh, I never in a million years thought I would say this thing or have to do this thing. And you're like, how in the world have I ended up here? Right.
Yeah.
And then the things
womanhood too.
Womanhood, right.
Well, and it's my understanding too that it wasn't always like this. That like motherhood's just become more lonely and we've become more isolated. But,
yeah,
we've gone away from the village.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I always think about like when I'm struggling with my kids and like there's people around who like instead of being like, oh, can I help you? They have a choice. They can either say, can I help you? Or they could judge me. And they choose judgment all the time instead of being like, ugh, she can't get those kids to be quiet. They come over and be like, hey, can I, let's read him a book.
Right. Can I help get your child down off the curtains?
Right.
Let me catch your child.
Yeah.
I judge from the jungle gym.
It's hard to find that culture. Is on the roof. Should I help you get him down?
Right, exactly. Or just go and do it. Just go be like, hey, JJ, get off the roof.
I'm going to go get JJ out of the tree.
Right. Yeah.
So who are our biblical lamenters? David laments to God in Psalm 22. Bartimaeus, the blind beggar, laments to Jesus in Mark 10:47. Job and Jeremiah are famous lamenters. Absolutely next level.
Job earned it. Job would pass.
We talked a lot about Jeremiah in that Angry at God episode, which makes a lot of sense, obviously. And perhaps the most well-known lament is in Mark 27:46, when Jesus says to God from the Garden of Gethsemane, my God, why have you forsaken me?
Right.
So we've talked a lot about Lamentations today, and if you have any questions about what a lamentation is, or you have any of your own that you see in the Bible that have meant a lot to you, please share those with us and come back for our next episode where we'll really dig into what Lamentations of a Middle-Aged Mother as a new podcast can look like, and Kara will take more of the driver's seat.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Messy Christian Mamas. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram. Until next time, embrace the mess, share the love, and shine your light bright, my friends.